Hi there. Hi friends. So it's Sunday and I'm doing my meal prep. This is something I haven't made on one of these videos before. Although, like, Amy likes to remind me, she goes, Karen, I went through your soup, all your YouTube playlist of soup videos, and they're all the same, like with few exceptions. They're all a little bit of meat, a whole bunch of beans and vegetables. And that, I'm like, of course they are, because that's what works for me economically in terms of money, my time. I get a one-pot hearty soup meal that has a little bit of meat, hey Tina, and then a whole bunch of beans or lentils and a bunch of vegetables, so it hits everything. So the one I'm making today is a version of this, the Three Sisters Stew from one of my favorite cookbooks, Keeping the Whole Family. This is an old version, like I said before. There's a brand new one with lots of pictures and colors from Cynthia Lair, who was a mentor and teacher of mine at Bastyr. Anyways, so I like this one right now because I had some butternut squashes that I had bought a month ago and I haven't done anything with them. And what this soup is, or stew is it's kind of like a chili, but it uses squash. So the way I've made it is, first I sauteed, well, actually, it started last night because last night I did 2 cups of pinto beans. I soaked them, and this morning I cooked them with a little kombu, so they're pretty much cooked now. Turn them off. So I have those cooked, and the recipe she has is actually a vegan soup because it's beans and corn and squash and onions and spices. It's really good. I tend to put a little bit of meat in it, so sometimes I'll brown some ground beef in it. But in my beef order, I have beef shank, which is kind of around the knee portion of the animal. You could use a lamb shank. And I'm going to put this in. It's a small amount of meat, but it's got a lot of knuckly bones. So it's going to give a lot of collagen's going to break down in my soup. So it's going to put a little extra protein and that silky, nice, it's going to put that richness to it. And it has a little meat. So it will also flavor it. So what I did is I browned those just to give it a little fond, a little flavoring. And then I sauteed an onion. And then I cut up 2 small butternuts. You could do a whole butternut. You could use all kinds of squashes or a pumpkin for this. You could also buy frozen chopped squash or pumpkin because you can buy those frozen, and that will work really well. And you could just toss those in here. So I'm sauteing those. My onions are soft right now. And then what I'm going to do next, is I'm going to put the spice combo in there. So let me show you what my spice combo is going to be. The basic of it is, don't I look great? Am I like sweats and slivers? It's oregano, cumin, and cinnamon, and some kind of chili powder. So I'm going to put probably the equivalent about 2 heaping teaspoons of dried oregano. And then, I hope I have enough. Where's my cumin? There it is. Nope, that's cinnamon. Oh, I need that too. Where's my cumin? Oh, hang on. I know where my cumin is. Okay. Stay with me here. So I need to refill my cumin jar. I use so many spices. I just buy like a pound of ground cumin at a time and keep it in my drawers where I keep herbs and spices for refill. I'm going to put 2 heaping, this is just a culinary, or a table teaspoon. Couple big spoonfuls of cumin. You don't have to be really exact here. And this is the same spice mix I use for my chili when I make the bean and quinoa chili. I'm going to put like half a teaspoon of cinnamon. I mean, you don't want to overdo the cinnamon. Those are the basic ones. And then here's where you can play around. I personally like to add, where is it? I like to put allspice in it. Oh, come on, Karen. Where's your allspice? Nutmeg. Oh, I am so disorganized. So I know I have allspice around here somewhere, and allspice isn't actually part of the recipe. I like it because I think it adds something. When I do add it, I add like a 1/4 teaspoon, a really small amount. And then the chili powder I'm going to add is smoked paprika. I'm going to use the mild one. You could use a spicy one. You could put, and I'm not going to put a lot because this is kind of a flavor bully. You could use just a regular chili powder. You could use chipotle chili powder, but just something to give it some heat and that smoky flavor. There we go. I'm going to add that now, okay? Because I want to let my spices bloom, getting some flavor, and then I'm breaking apart some garlic. And I'll put some garlic in there. And then, you know, it's the usual, onions, garlic, whatever other vegetables. Fry your spices, and then add your beans and tomato, and cook that all day. It's the same way I cook everything. This, you know, I'm hoping that those of you who like watch my cooking videos are going, oh my God, Karen, you basically do the same thing every weekend. Yeah, I mean, don't most of us? You kind of get into a rut. I'll try new things sometimes when I have the brain power for it. But otherwise, and I'm hoping that by watching me do the same dang kind of soup every weekend, that they end up being something that you feel like you could just like, oh, I can do that. I watch Karen do that like every single Sunday. Put my garlic in, and remember we put garlic in later because if you put it in immediately with the onions, it's going to burn because it has more sugars in it. My pintos are soft, but I want to check them. And of course, the other shortcut here is you could just use canned beans. And I'm using pintos. You could use black beans in here. You could use kidney beans in here. I kind of think some combination of black and pinto is usually really good and stuff, but I just did pinto. They're all the way cooked. Again, I used kombu seaweed in there because it adds nutrients, umami flavor and whatnot. And I just put a little salt in there to salt that. And then let's open these cans. So I don't know if you know the whole Three Sisters thing, but the Three Sisters are, what are they? It's corn. Corn stalks grow up, and then at the base of them you'll grow your vining your beans plants that'll vine up and produce your bean pods, and so those are the pinto beans. Here's the corn, canned corn. And then the squashes. Squash plants you grow and they cover the ground, so they like shade out all the weeds around your corn and your beans. And you can grow them all together in one space. They grow together well, and of course then the beans are a legume. They fix nitrogen, which nourishes the soil everything else grows in. So you grow those three plants together, and they're the Three Sisters, and then you put them together in a soup. So this is a traditional Native American concept. That's where the whole Three Sisters comes from. So you can feel all traditional making this soup. All right. I got my tomatoes. So you could, more of this could come from cans. And of course, that makes, when you know you can get stuff from cans, this makes it more of a pantry soup that you can have on hand really easily when you can just open a few cans of beans, open your can of corn or frozen corn, open a can of tomatoes. And then, of course, you can always keep winter squashes. Like, if you grow winter squashes and cure them properly, I used to store them on top of my bookshelves to keep all winter until you're ready to use them. So this is something you could always have on hand and make. Spices. And then meat or no meat. And when I serve, and of course I'll want to cook this for a while, and when I serve it, you can just serve, it's complete protein. It's, you know, it's as it is, it's great. You could serve it with like some sauteed greens, some coleslaw. It's nice served with cornbread if you want that. I'm just draining off my corn. Okay, now that's all ready. I just threw that lid over like it was going to hit the garbage can and it fell on the floor, but I'm too cool to go pick it up. That's my squash is a little soft. I want it a little bit soft, but everything's coated, so I'm going to put my beef shank in here. And this is, if I fried up, you know, a pound of ground beef, that's when I would put my fried ground beef back in there. And I suppose if you were not wanting to fuss with it, you could always fry your ground beef and your onions together and then push it to the side and fry your squash. There's lots of different ways you could do that. Yeah, start putting stuff in there and finish this soup. I need to rinse this out. I think I've said before, I often, you know that book, Feeding the Whole Family with Cynthia Lair, it's not a vegan cookbook. She does a lot. I'd say it's plant-based in its true sense in that mostly plants. But there are some things in there that use meat and fish and chicken. But the idea being they don't always take center stage, and it's not a huge amount. Put the corn in later. And I'm going to put my beans in, but I'm not sure I want all the liquid in there, so this is what I'm going to do. If you're using canned beans, here's a tip I want to give you about using canned beans. If you can, it's nice to buy your beans. I mean, you just might get any old cheap can of beans, fine. And if you do, and there's salt in there, I think it's nice to drain them and give them a rinse. Not that salt is bad, but it might throw off how much salt is already in your pot. So I like to drain and rinse my beans first and then throw them in. I really like to buy my beans from companies like Eden because I can buy them without added salt, and they actually cook them with kombu, right? And if you like the whole idea of kombu for the flavoring and the minerals, and you're using canned beans that don't have kombu, you could then just add that now and cook it. And I'll show you what it looks like. Because I love making use, little and often, of a lot of sea vegetables. So this is the kelp, the kombu. You can get it from Maine Coast Sea Vegetables, or you can get, does Eden sell them? I'm trying to remember who I usually get them from. Hey, Stacy. Anyways, that's kombu, and I like using kombu with beans because it does help them break down. But also kombu has glutamic acid in it, which is that umami flavor, so it makes everything taste really good. So if you're making this 100% vegetarian, no meat, adding kombu gives it that umami flavor that normally like a ham hock would, or meat or Parmesan cheese. So you get that rich, smoky flavor from meat, but without meat. But of course, I'm putting some meat in there too. And you also, when you use sea vegetables, you're getting iodine, you're getting a lot of trace minerals, and get a lot of that with your sea vegetables. So it's great, especially if you are vegetarian, especially if you are vegan. Make use of sea vegetables. They're going to replace a lot of minerals that you don't get in your regular diet. All right? So basically that's everything is in here except for the corn, and I think I'll add the corn at the end of the day because the corn does not need to cook at all. So I'm just going to set that aside. It's ready. And it turns out I do need all the liquid from those beans. Yeah, that's it. It's all in the pot. It's going to cook. So let me bring you over here so you can see the pot. In my kitchen. All right, so there it is. There's the soup, and it's going to cook. Like I said, I don't worry too much about the amounts. If there's my ring light, don't worry so much about the exact amounts because soups like this, they don't have to be exact. I'm giving you exact amounts because I know how it is. If you're not like a super experienced intuitive cook, you want to have the recipe so you can make it taste right. So that's really logical and sensible. But just know you've got a lot of wiggle room with this. But like any tomato soup dish, this is going to be nice when you bring it to a boil, cover it, bring it to a boil, turn it down to simmer, and let it simmer for at least an hour. But what time is it? It's noon. I'm just going to let this simmer on the stove. Actually, my wood stove is going. I might put it on my wood stove, or you can put it in a low oven all day. Or you can put it in a crock pot now at this point and put it in a crock pot all day or overnight. So you can make it work any of those ways. So it's super flexible. All right, so that's part of my big meal prep this weekend, because you know that, meal prep, or at least meal planning ahead to know what you're going to have for your lunches and dinners and your breakfasts all week, that you are 80% of the week there. 80% of the way there with your nutrition if you just have a plan in advance, because the week will get away from you. So for me, I like to make one big hearty soup a weekend. I think I'll make a quinoa salad with some lima beans and a bunch of herbs to be part of my lunch. That's the next thing I'm going to make. But if you guys are looking for support for meal plans, remember I've got this now. I have this meal plan membership. I'm doing it for 19 bucks a month. Stop or start anytime. And this month is focused on gluten-free and dairy-free. And I have a done for you 4-week meal plan with a shopping list and everything. It's not this, but it's got that in there. And I always leave last month's in there too. And in January was all about really quick meals that are a lot of meal assembly, less cooking. But in there, you're also going to find a whole bunch of useful strategies for planning your meals. I have a whole separate one for blood sugar friendly meal planning that gives you an idea of a healthy plate for blood sugar. I've also got all the links to my YouTube videos for how to make things, how to make like this soup and all the other soups I make. So if I were you and you're like, I don't want a membership, I make everything as a downloadable PDF on this. So what you could do is hack my system and sign up to the $19, go in there, download all the PDFs on your own file, cancel your membership, and see if that stuff really resonates for you and works for you. Yeah? So I've got that going if you want to, because everybody's been asking me for meal plans for years, and I haven't given anything to anybody, but I'm trying to do that now. All right. Hey, Earl. I think that's it for me today. I'm going to get on with domestics today and try to fold laundry and do a little bit more cooking. So I hope you have a lovely Sunday and a good week. Thanks for watching.